Part 75. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 741. Ziwan Guest House welcomes new residents. On the way back, Shen Yunqing informed Xiaji that two elders were coming to stay for a while, so when he got back, the guest house had been tidied up very efficiently. The car stopped at the entrance of the guest courtyard. Zhang Sishan helped his wife get out of the car and looked at the brightly lit courtyard in front of him. He heard the wife next to him say, "It's so beautiful." "Yeah, it's really beautiful." He nodded and replied silently. At the dinner table before, even though he had guessed that his nephew-in-law, who was low-key and unassuming, was probably a little unusual, he really didn't expect it to be so unusual. It is not possible for ordinary people to own and build such a quaint and stylish garden even if the location is a little off. As we all know, the more antique the garden, the higher the cost. And he finally realized how spacious the place his great niece said before he decided to live here was what it meant. It's really spacious. There is even a lake in front with a beautiful light strip surrounding it. Plus there are also surveillance and bodyguards equipped. In this way, Yin does not have to sit in a room of less than 100 square meters when he is busy at work and has no time to accompany him, repeating some things within his power every day, or just sitting there. Xianguan is eagerly looking forward to him coming home to pass the time. You can leave the room and walk around within the surveillance range or with a bodyguard following you. Zhang Lingzi also heard the little grandma blurt out, "It's so beautiful." It's good that the little grandma is satisfied. Then she saw the other party covered her mouth and yawned quietly. It's getting late, and the little grandpa and grandma have been on the road for another day. Go and rest first. Everything is ready in the room, and it's okay to pack your luggage tomorrow. Well, thank you Zixi. Zhang Sishan watched the two juniors leave, holding his wife's hand and stepping into the guest house. The luggage that the two of them brought with them had already been delivered by Xiaji quickly. Yunyan likes Zixi very much. Others may not feel it, but he and his wife have been together day and night for more than 10 years. He is well aware of some of his wife's emotional changes, and he can also sense that they are inseparable. Moreover, his family is very sensitive. Like it all. Who also likes Zixi? Zhang Sishan. This is the first time we met. Even though he knew in his heart that his wife's love for her grandniece and grandniece was just a love for the younger generation, and was no different from her love for her grandniece, he still felt a little sour. Asterisk. Zhang Lingzi washed up and leaned on the bedside, insisting on reading the rest of the script before lying down. Turn over and look at Shen Yunqing, who put down the book in his hand almost at the same time. The Lantern Festival will be in 2 days, and my grandpa and the others are living here now. How about we get together to celebrate the Lantern Festival? She had to admit that her excitement for celebrating New Year's Eve was still there. In addition, after the Lantern Festival, those who have jobs have basically returned to work, and those who go to school have also started school. The Chinese New Year holiday for everyone is completely over. If you want to get everyone around you together again, it will probably take it's time to wait until the end of the year. Then let's make lanterns, cook glutinous rice and have a meal together, and then everyone will be busy with their own business. What do you think? Your Majesty, can you make lanterns? I can't learn it. Then I'll wait for the lanterns made by Your Majesty. Lantern Festival is a must-have event in the imperial capital, but with their current popularity, it would be better not to go out to the Lantern Festival rashly, otherwise it would be bad if they are recognized and cause an accident. As long as the space at home is spacious, it's okay to hold a small lantern party to have some fun by yourself. The next morning, when the two of them went to have breakfast with the two elders living in the guest house, Zhang Lingzi made the impromptu suggestion at the dinner table. Gathering here to celebrate the Lantern Festival, Zhang Sishan looked at the proposed grandniece, and then at his wife, whose eyes suddenly brightened and she wanted to nod immediately. Are all the people from both families coming? Zhang Lingzi glanced at Shen Yunqing. On my side are my parents and Xiaoxu. I'm afraid the elders on Yunqing's side don't have time, but there are a few cousins who I plan to invite over to play together, and there are some I recognize. A younger sister and her grandmother should also be able to come. I heard that there are quite a lot of people there. Zhang Xishan smiled and nodded. It will be very lively then. He also took his wife to the Lantern Festival 2 or 3 times when he was in Mokeng. However, in such crowded occasions, most of his attention was put on carefully watching his wife. How could he enjoy himself? Pass. Not to mention whether he likes it or not, Yin Yin likes the excitement and will probably be happy when the time comes. After breakfast, Zhang Lingzi sent out the proposal to several family groups to get together on the Lantern Festival. Shen Qingzhou was the first to respond, and asked if he could bring his fiancée with him. Zhang Lingzi replied with a welcoming emoticon. Within a few minutes, other people also responded one after another, which shows that they are not busy at this moment. But the 4 people who had eaten breakfast together had already started doing their own things. Shen Yunqing is busy at both the Yinhe Palace Museum and the company. Zhang Lingzi went back to the next courtyard to memorize the script. She was determined to win the role. She would have to memorize the script sooner or later anyway. After Zhang Xishan packed up the luggage that he would use for the next period of time, he was not busy with anything else. He first asked Xiaji to take him and his wife around the guest house where they lived to familiarize themselves with the environment. After 2 days, he would start to get busy. Yunyan can also wander around and relax about the company's affairs. Zhang Wenjia is very worried. Let alone preparing to eat glutinous rice during the Lantern Festival, she even wanted to pause the time. Before it was revealed that she had purchased shoddy raw materials, Yueshan's finances were in trouble. Ever since the finance department was investigated, Zhang Peng's heart has been aroused. The finance department is really tricky. Even Zhang Wenjia, who was in charge of purchasing, knew that there was something wrong with the company's accounts, and he felt like a mirror in his heart. In the past few days, I have been begging my grandpa to sue my grandma, and I have tried every method I could think of. But this time the officials were particularly unselfish, and in the end it was of no use. So before the funds for the new year had arrived, Yuzheng received a large fine. The company, which was already in danger, was now even more precarious. After hearing that various departments were resigning and running away, and even the assistants who had been with him for a long time were secretly preparing resumes, Zhang Peng didn't even come up and was pulled directly into the hospital. Now if Zhang Wenjia wants to hide, she can't show her father even after he enters the hospital. She can only go to visit her father who has just woken up. As a result, before she even had time to say the words of filial piety, Zhang Peng was lying on the hospital bed and told her, "Hurry up and call your sister. I don't believe that I am about to die. How can she, a daughter, be so cold-hearted? You don't even want to come over and take a look at me." Zhang Wenjia. She believes it. Zhang Wenhui can really be so cruel. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 742. Facing his father's urging look, Zhang Wenjia bravely dialed the phone. When the phone rang, Zhang Wenhui was taking her Aunt Suyin to make glutinous rice in the kitchen of Ziwan guest house. She put her cell phone in the corner to charge. Suyin, who was still going to get the sesame seeds, saw it and helped her get it. "Wenhui, your phone is ringing." Zhang Wenhui wiped the glutinous rice flour on her hands, took the phone and glanced at the number on it, swiped it to the left and hung up. Suyin hadn't sat down yet when she saw this. She asked, "Aren't you going to take it?" "Don't answer the call, it's from an annoying person." Zhang Wenhui wondered if she still wanted to use today's Lantern Festival to ease the relationship. What a beautiful thought. Then I'll take the phone back and recharge it for you. But before Suyin could take the phone over again, the ringtone rang again. Zhang Wenhui subconsciously wanted to hang up again. When she saw that the caller number this time was not Zhang Wenjia's, she hesitated for a moment and dialed the call to connect. "Hello, who is this?" "Ahem, Hui Hui." Zhang Wenhui immediately regretted why she had just answered the call. She coldly interrupted what Zhang Peng wanted to say later on to ease the relationship. "You don't have to think about trying to work on me. It's useless. I won't agree to it no matter what. I said it last time, we don't make mistakes. He Shui, treat each other as if he doesn't exist as before. Also, I know what you and whom I may did to my uncle back then, and I'll give you 4 words, don't dig your own grave again, fight." "I won't answer either, so I'll change my number so I can take care of myself." Hang up immediately after speaking. Hearing the busy tone from the phone, Zhang Peng felt a breath in his heart and almost didn't come up again. Before she could recover from the eldest daughter's words, the younger daughter's doubtful voice sounded in her ears, "Dad, what did you and Mom do to your uncle back then?" Zhang Wenjia didn't expect to hear such exciting news after clicking the button. She only knew that her grandfather had tried to break up the two of them because he did not agree with his brother-in-law marrying an aunt who was not very sane, but he had not yet succeeded. I really don't know what roles her parents played. Zhang Peng's face tensed up when he was asked, "Your sister is talking nonsense, don't ask around." Zhang Wenjia didn't believe it. Just by looking at the change in her father's face, she knew there must be something going on that she didn't know either. However, she knew that her father had always been afraid of her uncle, and the way he looked at her in Mokang, what her parents did to her uncle was most likely not a good thing. Now that she can't tell from her father, she can get some information from her mother. Even her mother has almost taken over the weight loss center and hasn't come back for the Chinese New Year. She doesn't know if she can find time to meet her daughter. If you don't want to pry, don't pry. My sister is the same. As for the incident of Chen Sesame and rotten millet, do you still remember it now? Now she doesn't even answer our phone calls. What should we do now? As for visiting someone directly, she felt a little shudder just thinking about it. That slap really hurt. Zhang Peng's face darkened, and he waved his hand. "Forget it, the company still needs someone to take charge. You and Su Hui go over and stabilize everyone's hearts. Stop asking around." Had he heard this before anything happened to the company, Zhang Wenjia would definitely have been overjoyed. But now, she was in a panic. Not only is the company in a state of turmoil and people are distracted, but the fire in her department is still unknown when it will explode. She really doesn't want to sit in this town. He bravely responded and then left the ward as if he was running away. After Zhang Peng waited for his younger daughter to leave, he picked up his phone again. He first took a photo of himself lying haggard on the hospital bed and sent it to his eldest daughter. Then he edited the message unskilledly, "Hui, I am old, I don't know how many more years I can live after I collapse. This time I did do some stupid things when I was young. In fact, my father regretted it a long time ago before he died. I just wanted to hear your forgiveness. There is also the company at home, which is not easy to establish. It contains your mother's hard work and now supports hundreds of families. Do you really have the heart to let it disappear like this?" It's just that after sending the message for a while, he didn't receive any response. He was so angry that he beat the bed. This girl's heart is getting harder and harder. Zhang Wenhui didn't pick up her phone again until she finished wrapping the glutinous rice and saw 2 unread messages. Zhang Lingzi came to the kitchen to get a lighter with the lantern she had just made. When she saw her sitting on a stool with her mobile phone in hand, she walked over in a hurry. "Who is this?" Zhang Wenhui suddenly came back to her senses and subconsciously turned off the screen. "Zhang Peng." Zhang Lingzi raised her eyebrows and asked, "Are you sick?" "Well," Zhang Wenhui smiled sarcastically, "who knows if it's true or not. I guess he just wanted to test whether I would be soft-hearted." "Then you can." "I won't, it's all his own fault." Zhang Lingzi took the phone out of her hand and deleted the photos neatly. When she saw the large text message behind it, she also deleted it, then don't want to make people unhappy. Look at what I did. The lanterns are beautiful, this is my first time. Zhang Wenhui took the deleted cell phone, took a deep breath, and looked at the lantern in her daughter's hand. Beautiful. Suyin also cheered. 1111 is so skillful with her hands. Chiwiu and Susu brought a lot of materials. Mom and Grandma should also make one by themselves. After finding the lighter, the three people came out of the kitchen and saw a white car driving towards the living room. It's finally here. I was about to make a call and ask Mom, you and Grandma go into the house first, and I'll pick up Anan and Grandma go. Zhang Wenhui's mood was still somewhat affected by the two previous phone calls and messages, so she didn't insist on following them to the door to greet her. Auntie, here are Sister Zixi and her grandmother. Let's go inside first, he said and held Suyin's arm. Suyin was looking curiously at the white car that was driving over. Following the strength in her arms, she was about to avert her gaze and raise her feet to enter the house. She accidentally saw the person who had just got out of the car, and her feet suddenly stopped. Why don't you leave, Aunt? It's cold outside. Before Zhang Wenhui could finish speaking, her arm suddenly pulled out. Zhang Lingzi looked at Su Ling'an and Gao Lan getting out of the car on the left and right and was about to speak when she saw a figure running from behind and ran directly past her to the front. Little Grandma. Gao Lan stood beside the car, staring blankly at the figure running towards her, just like a dream that would make her cry every time she dreamed about it at midnight. Yan, Yan Yan. Muttering, she unceremoniously reached out and pinched her arm hard. The intense pain struck instantly. Tell her that this time it's not a dream. Her daughter was really running towards her, just like she had done in countless midnight dreams in the past. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 743. Zhang Lingzi was stunned for a moment when she saw Gao Lan hugging her little grandmother tightly, who ran to her before stopping. Then he looked at Su Ling'an, whose expression was blank. It was Zhang Wenhui who interrupted the silence inside and outside the courtyard. What is going on? Why did my aunt suddenly run up to Grandma Anan, and the two of them hugged each other? Zhang Lingzi had just walked up to Su Ling'an, who seemed to have been cast on a body-fixing spell, and patted her on the shoulder. Just as she was about to speak, she heard Zhang Wenhui's question. She simply pulled Su Ling'an to Zhang Wenhui and whispered, if I hadn't guessed wrong, the little grandma should be Grandma Anan's long-lost daughter. It seems that it was not her fault that she felt kind-hearted at the Jifeng banquet. Mother and daughter will always look somewhat similar, but Grandma Anan is always a bit old in age. If she were younger, she might have guessed the little grandma when she saw her for the first time. It's just this generation, it's a bit of a headache. As soon as he said these words, the hand in his palm trembled suddenly. Zhang Wenhui's expression became even more confused. What? Auntie is Grandma Anan's daughter? This. Gao Lan hugged her daughter tightly, fearing that she would disappear accidentally. He hugged her tightly and still wanted to let go. It wasn't until Suyin was hugged that she had difficulty breathing and couldn't help but move a little. Then she relaxed as if she was waking up from a dream. She was a little at a loss and said, Did you hurt us, Yan Yan? I'm sorry, Mom, I couldn't hold it back. Mother. Those two words, so soft that they were almost inaudible, made Gao Lan burst into tears instantly. Until a pair of hands reached out to wipe away the tears on her face. Don't cry. Gao Lan nodded without thinking. Okay, don't cry. After her tears were wiped away, she saw her granddaughter, Zhang Wenhui, and Zhang Lingzi standing at the door of the yard. Anan, this is your mother. She was the one who picked you up and brought you home. Zhang Lingzi let go of Su Lingan's hand and watched the girl walk over. A family of three reunited together. Gao Lan looked at Zhang Lingzi again. Zixi, is it An's mother you helped find? No, what did you call Yan just now? Zhang Lingzi and Zhang Wenhui looked at each other quickly. Little grandma. Aunt Gao, no, do I have to call you grandma too? Zhang Wenhui just called out the name she was used to, and then she realized something was wrong. What, my brother-in-law seems to have married your daughter. In the living room hall. Shen Shuiu the light pole, and then said, my cousin went to find a lighter, why hasn't she come back yet? Tu Susu put down the half-made lantern in his hand and stood up, I'll go take a look. Before he could reach the door, he saw Shen Heshen leaning on the window and looking outside. What are you looking at, He Chen? It's so lively at the entrance of the courtyard. A few minutes later, everyone in the guest house gathered in the hall. Zhang Sishan was originally taking Zhang Runjinj to discuss opening a company in the quieter study next to the hall. Zhang Lingzi came over to call the two of them in person. He started by saying, Grandpa, your mother-in-law and daughter are here. Zhang Sishan. When he got up in a hurry and went out, the first thing he saw was his wife sitting on the sofa, and then he saw the old lady with red eyes next to his wife. The other party raised his eyes and looked towards him within 2 seconds of him looking at him. Looking at each other, everyone else in the room remained silent in tacit agreement. Zhang Lingzi looked at the famous scene in front of her, where her mother-in-law and her son-in-law had just met for the first time after being married to someone else's daughter for more than 10 years. She reached out and tugged on the sleeve of Shen Yunqing, who was standing next to her. When others looked over, he blinked. She just said that the noodles are good, and in the end it really has a great origin. Shen Yunqing cupped his hands without leaving any trace. Your Majesty is so awesome. This year's Lantern Festival is destined to be unusual. It is also a real reunion dinner. In the study, Gao Lan held his lost daughter tightly and listened quietly to Zhang Sishan, who was standing in front of him, talking about the whole process from when he and his daughter met until now. Haunted, grateful, sad, happy, all kinds of emotions came to my mind. Should she blame her daughter for risking her life to save people, or should she blame the person in front of her for marrying her daughter without saying a word and bringing her to live in Mokang, so far away from the imperial capital? But if the two people hadn't had that dangerous encounter, the person in front of them might have been tortured to death by those bad guys more than 10 years ago. And if her daughter was in this situation, if no one was protecting her, she wouldn't dare to say anything. Being able to live peacefully outside for a year, let alone being able to meet again nearly 20 years later like God's mercy. You too. Seeing his mother-in-law finally speak, Zhang Sishan couldn't help but hold her breath. It was Su Yin who interrupted Gao Yan's words softly, Mom, I like Sheng Sheng. Gao Lan stroked his daughter's hand. Nearly 20 years have passed, and my daughter is now a few years younger than Wenhui. Her hands are not even thinly calloused, and although there are some fine lines at the corners of her eyes are still clear. What surprised her even more was that after getting along with her for a while, she could clearly feel that her daughter was in a much better state than before she disappeared. These are undoubtedly the contributions of the son-in-law in front of him. However, she had never thought that anyone would be willing to marry her daughter, and she had no way to doubt the feelings of the person in front of her towards her daughter at this moment. Don't just stand, sit down. Zhang Sishan breathed a sigh of relief, sat down as he was told, and followed his advice, thank you, Mom. Gao Lan. Her son-in-law may be a bit thick-skinned. Asterisk. Zhang Lingzi handed the prepared tissues to Su Lingen. Thank you, sister, I'm so happy. I didn't expect such a big surprise when I come here this time. I know, I didn't expect it either. Su Lingen wiped her tears with a tissue and blew her nose. She threw the tissue into the trash can and looked up to see her sister looking at her with a strange expression. Elder sister. I'm thinking about a very complicated problem. Ah, look, your mother is my little grandma, so my little grandpa is also your dad, so what should I call you? After finishing laughing, Su Linggan looked up at her sister, who was looking at her with a smile, and leaned against her gently. Let's talk about our own affairs. Anyway, I just want to be my sister's sister. Zhang Lingzi touched Su Linggan's head, then raised his head and looked in the direction of the study. As for this issue of title, my little grandpa probably doesn't have any objections, right? As everyone knows, there is someone else who is also suffering. Zhang Lingxia quietly walked to the small lake in Ziwan alone, dropped his head and threw a stone into the lake, and then squatted by the lake and made a stone for himself. Anan is actually the daughter that my grandmother picked up back then. Then wouldn't he change his name to Cousin Anan in the future? When I think of this, my eyes go dark. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 744. No one knows about Zhang Lingxiu's melancholy. Gao Lan finally saw his missing daughter again after nearly 20 years. He saw that her daughter was alive and well, and could even be said to be held in the palm of her husband's hand. Even though he couldn't accept the fact that his daughter was married at the beginning, in the end there was only joy and joy left in my heart. Shen Chuiu and others also heard this piece of history about the elders from Zhang Lingzi. Shen Heshen, how bizarre. Tu Susu clarified the relationship. My cousin has accepted Anan as my sister, and my cousin's mother's brother-in-law just happened to marry Anan's mother. At present, my cousin is the only one who can bring the two people together. Thinking about it, it's really cool. There is a certain feeling of destiny. Shen Qingzhou nodded and agreed with his fiancée. It's all fate. A few people looked at each other silently. Fate is wonderful beyond words. They have witnessed it with their own eyes today. With the addition of such a happy event as finding a loved one, the atmosphere of the Lantern Festival in Ziwan naturally became more lively and lively. Zhang Wenhui is not only happy that Gao Lan finally found her daughter, but also happy for her brother-in-law. Although Anan is the daughter picked up by her aunt, she is still a daughter, and she is recognized in the household registration book. Then correspondingly, my brother-in-law will become a father directly. My daughter is still an outstanding child. At first, I was a little regretful that my uncle might not have any descendants of his own in this life, but now I have no regrets at all. Such a happy event directly washed away the previous unhappiness. Zhang Peng, who was lying on the hospital bed, still waiting for his eldest daughter to reply to him. Did he send the wrong number? Is the eldest daughter really that cruel? Asterisk. Zhang Wenhui didn't notice that her son was a little unhappy until after the meal. What's wrong with you? Everyone is happy, but you are the only one who can't smile and is feeling unwell. Zhang Lingxiu wiped his face, forced out a smile, and shook his head. It's okay. The tone is weak. Although Anan didn't directly change her name to her grandpa at the banquet, she did call her uncle, so she probably will change her name in the future. So he was definitely called cousin? Zhang Wenhui still felt a little worried and touched her son's forehead. He doesn't have a cold or fever. Mom, go watch the lanterns and guess lantern riddles with my sister and the others. I want to be alone. Zhang Lingzi had just guessed a lantern riddle that Shen Yunqing had asked. When she turned around, she saw Ms. Zhang coming out of the room by herself. Where's Xiaoxu? I don't know what's going on, I just want to be alone. Zhang Lingzi raised her eyebrows. He raised his eyes and looked at the pavilion that was brightly lit by lanterns not far ahead. Grandpa and Grandma were playing with Anan there, and the atmosphere among the family of three could not be more harmonious. She seemed to know why little brother Zhang was left alone in the house depressed. The girl he likes becomes his cousin, which is a bit cruel when he thinks about it. Let him be alone if he wants to be quiet. It's better to figure it out earlier. As for whether there may be unexpected developments between the two in the future, only God knows. Asterisk. When there are many people, it becomes lively, and it is easy to lose track of time due to the excitement. In addition, young people generally go to bed late, especially the siblings Shen Chuiu and Shen Heshen. In the end, everyone played until very late. Even Gao Landu went to bed almost 2 hours later than usual, but she was mainly excited to see her daughter. The commotion was almost over, and everyone stayed in Ziwan for the night. Zhang Sishan watched his wife leave holding the small pillow she was used to. Suyin was going to sleep with her mother and daughter. He had a hunch that today was just the beginning of staying alone in an empty room. You won't be able to fall asleep if you sleep alone for a while, so you might as well get up and get busy with work. Now he not only has a wife, but also a mother-in-law and a daughter. Originally, he started the company just to protect his wife from the threats of Zhang Peng, Zhang Wenjia, and others. But now, with 2 more people to take care of him, the company should become bigger and stronger. Good. Fully motivated. Early the next morning, Su Linghan was the first to wake up. School started today and she had to rush to register. Just by her movement, Gao Lan and Su Yin, who were sleeping on the same bed, also woke up one after another. Su Yin opened her eyes and saw that her daughter sleeping next to her had sat up. She subconsciously reached out and pulled her arm. "Anan, it's not yet dawn. Mom, I have to get up early and go to school." "Go to school?" I'm still a student. I have to register for school today. It's not good to be late." "Can I go?" "Mom wants to send me to school, of course." Gao Lan smiled gently and said nothing, just quietly listening to the conversation between his daughter and granddaughter. She could feel that her daughter was still immersed in the novelty of having a daughter, and although her granddaughter had never seen her mother since she could remember, perhaps because she had never concealed it, the 2 of them knew each other from the very beginning. We recognize each other, there is no sense of unfamiliarity at all when we get along, it is a natural intimacy. She couldn't help but want to laugh every time she heard the mother and daughter talking. "Since Yin Yin wants to send Anan to school, let's get up now." The 3 of them got up and washed up. There was no need to make breakfast. Ziwan's chef, who had received instructions in advance, had already made it and they could start eating when they sat down. I didn't wait for Gao Lan to remind that when I saw the breakfast on the table, Su Yin walked towards the bedroom that had slept before. "I call Sheng Sheng." Gao Lan picked up a small steamed bun for his granddaughter, turned to look at his daughter who was calling her son-in-law, and couldn't help but sigh. "Anan, your mother is really much better than before." She can still clearly remember what her daughter was like before she disappeared. She is already 20 years old and worries her more than a child. No matter what aspect we look at now, we have made much progress compared to that time. Mom is very happy now. Yes, meeting Sishan may be the greatest luck in her life. By the time Zhang Lingzi came from next door, the 4 of them had already finished breakfast. Learning that Grandpa and Grandma were going to send their daughter to school, Zhang Lingzi thought she should give them a warning. If it's just Anan herself, her goal is not big, and she keeps a low profile. But if you add the little grandpa and the little grandma, I think it's better for you all to wear a mask or something before getting off the car. Anan also starred in Empress Yuan Zhao, the character she played appeared on the stage 2 days ago, and it was quite popular. This is true. Although the actor who plays Princess Jinan in Empress Yuan Zhao is just a new face that cannot be updated, the actor is particularly suitable for this role, and her performance is more agile and pleasant than the previous childhood version of Princess Jinan. Su Linghan herself may not have known that her appearance brought more popularity than some of the veteran actors in the play. Of course, Zhang Lingzi didn't know it at first, but Tong Yu, who had been paying attention to the data of Empress Yuan Zhao, told her. Gao Lan nodded repeatedly when he heard this, and looked at his daughter and son-in-law who were still a little confused. Maybe my classmates from Anan school have watched Empress Yuan Zhao. If they recognize that the little princess in it is played by our Anan, I will probably give it to her when taking photos or whatever, it's safer to wear a mask. Zhang Xishan finally understood, isn't An going to act too? If he remembered correctly, this kid went to BG, not the film and television school, right? Zhang Lingzi coughed lightly. I brought him to the crew. There was a role that needed to be replaced. I thought An was just right. Plus, she was free after her college entrance examination, so she stayed on the crew to make a guest appearance. As for the unexpected popularity of this character after her appearance, she didn't expect it at the time. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 745. Facts have proved that Zhang Lingzi's reminder was very timely. Su Linghan drove 3 parents to the University of Washington in her white car. After showing her student ID card, she could drive directly into the school and finally parked in the parking lot next to the dormitory building. Suyin looked outside through the car window. There are so many people. Gao Lan was afraid that his daughter would be nervous in the crowd, so he patted her hand and said, "School starts today, and there are some parents who have sent their children to register like us. There are a lot of talents, and there are usually not so many people." After Zhang Xishan got off the car, he went to the trunk to take out his daughter's suitcase. He saw his mother-in-law and daughter guarding his wife on the left and right, so there was no room for him. He silently positioned himself as the one carrying the luggage. The 4 of them touched the masks they were wearing and walked along the clean tree-lined avenue towards the door of the dormitory building. Just as I was walking, I felt something was wrong. There aren't that many people at the door of the dormitory building opposite. Did something happen here? You'll know if you go there and take a look. As he spoke, Zhang Xishan walked from behind the 3 people to the front and started the battle. As I got closer, I finally heard the chatter of the crowd in front of me, mostly girls. I didn't expect that the actress who played Princess Jinan in Empress Yuan Zhao was actually a student of our school. Our school is going to have a star. I even went to the copy shop to print out a photo of Princess Zhang Jinan. I didn't know if I could get an autograph. I really like Princess Jinan. Who wouldn't like the person who came here to see a real person? Are you sure this person lives in this dormitory? Su Linghan, freshman, majoring in computer science, was the top scorer in the Imperial City College entrance examination last year. Besides, with so many people, we can't all get it wrong. Then why can't you see anyone? It shouldn't be here yet, please wait. 4 people stood not far from the crowd, looking at each other in confusion after hearing the words. I thought something had happened, but I didn't expect it was because of my family. Gao Lan lowered his voice. Fortunately, Zixi reminded us before coming. If they had been stabbed directly without any disguise, their family would have been surrounded by now. Su Linghan pulled up the mask on his face and put on his hat at the same time. Gao Lan and Suyin also made a tacit understanding to block their children again. Let's go up from the side. So Zhang Xishan continued to clear the way, and with her mother-in-law, wife and children behind her, she passed through the crowd in a low-key manner and entered the dormitory smoothly. It's just that if parents want to follow their children upstairs into the dormitory, they have to register. Su Linghan pulled out the electronic student card from his mobile phone and walked to the dormitory teacher for verification and registration. When it comes to face recognition, you have to pull down the mask. As soon as the dormitory teacher in charge of registering students saw the student information read by the machine, the face on the screen made her glance at the real person subconsciously. Su Linghan quickly made a SHH gesture towards her. The dormitory teacher shut up in time, glanced at the crowd waiting outside the dormitory building. His voice became softer, and he said with a smile, "Come up quickly." Looking at her reaction just now and her expression now, Su Linghan knew that he most likely recognized her from Empress Yuan Zhao. "Thank you, teacher." "You're welcome, you're welcome." The journey from the lobby to the dormitory was a little better. After all, we lived in the same dormitory and bumped into each other in the corridor and elevator. I believe there will definitely be opportunities to meet in the future. We were not as excited as the crowd outside the dormitory. At the door of the dormitory, Su Lingyan swiped his card to enter. Zhang Sishan was the last one to go in, pull her suitcase in, and close the door with her backhand, blocking out the hustle and bustle outside. The four of them breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Gao Lan walked to the balcony and looked down, and saw that the crowd below showed no sign of decreasing at all. It's not good to be famous. What if there are so many people waiting to see Anan in the future? When he said this, Zhang Sishan also frowned. School is a place for learning. If this continues in the future, it will definitely affect learning. Su Lingyan himself was the calmest, and said with relief, "Grandma, uncle, you don't have to worry, we don't have to go to school today. When the school starts, everyone will be busy in class. How can you have time to pay attention to me? Besides, I have a lot of drama, it's not much, and I have no plans to continue filming in the future. I'll just wait until the heat passes. Everyone's focus will definitely be on their studies." That's true. Gao Yan's expression relaxed, and he stretched out his hand to wipe the table next to him. "Let's sweep the dust first." Zhang Sishan unbuttoned her cufflinks and rolled up her sleeves. "I'll do it." Halfway through cleaning the dormitory door was unscrewed from the outside again. Su Lingyan was wiping the table when he heard the sound and turned to look over. "Boss. Anan, are you?" The visitor's eyes lit up when he saw Anan, and he opened his mouth to talk about her guest appearance in a TV series, but when he glanced around, he saw that there were 3 elders in the dormitory, and he immediately behaved himself. Gao Lan saw that the little girl was a little uncomfortable, so he led his daughter and son-in-law to finish the cleaning, and then asked to leave. Su Lingyan handed over the car keys. "I'll take you there." "No, no, no, no," Gao Lan quickly stopped his granddaughter. "We know how to get down, you'd better stay in the dormitory." She just looked downstairs again. Although the crowd downstairs was not as dense as when she came up before, there were still quite a few. Su Lingyan had no choice but to watch them enter the elevator from the corridor. Turned around and returned to the dormitory, and was grabbed. "Let me see our little Princess Jinan." Su Lingyan. The ringing of the telephone rescued her. "Elder sister. Have you had a smooth journey without being recognized?" "No, thanks to my sister for reminding me before she came." "So there's really someone who came specifically to see you?" "Well, there are quite a lot of people. I didn't expect that there are so many people in our school watching Empress Yuanzhao during the winter vacation. Even followed the clues and found her. This would really catch her off guard if she wasn't prepared in advance." After saying that, the boss of their dormitory walked up to her, winked at her, opened his mouth and said silently, "I saw it too, it's so beautiful." Su Lingyan almost couldn't stop laughing. Zhang Lingzi hung up the phone after confirming that Su Lingyan's side was not a big problem. The boss, who had been sitting quietly opposite Su Lingyan in the dormitory, dared to speak out. "I also watch Empress Yuanzhao every day at home, but it is inconvenient to catch up on the drama when I go back to school." Su Lingyan thought about the current broadcast progress of Empress Yuanzhao and said, "It should be the finale in just a few episodes. You can save it and wait until the weekend to finish it in one go." "That's right, I can watch it all at once." "Young man, do you know what my reaction was when I saw you on TV?" "What's the reaction?" "I jumped up from the sofa and kicked the plate of melon seeds out with my kick. Then my mother rewarded me with a cotton pad." "Tell me, why didn't you give me a warning before you came out so that I could have some peace of mind? While I was getting ready, I showed off to my mother that the person who played Princess Jinan on TV was my classmate and that she lived in the same dormitory with me and was the youngest in our dormitory. She just rolled her eyes at me and said I was dreaming. I showed her a photo of us together. She still doesn't believe that I am peas. Hey, My mom is here for the video. She probably wants to see if I have arrived at school. Can you show your face later, my dear? I will convince my mom. Su Linghan listened to her rapid-fire talk and nodded subconsciously. Then I saw the boss of her dormitory connected to the video and started to show off in less than 3 sentences. Mom, let you see the little princess in our dormitory. She is alive and sitting next to me. I really didn't lie to you. Su Linghan, hello, Aunt. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 746. Zhang Xishan drove his daughter's white car and drove his wife and mother-in-law back to Z1. As they came and went, the sun had already risen very high. Shen Shuiyu and the others were about to get up, so they simply ate breakfast and lunch together. After eating, we went to say goodbye, and then drove away to go about their work or studies. Zhang Lingzi also welcomed Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yao, who returned to work after a long annual leave, which meant that her leisurely days were gone forever. Lu Zhengzheng brought a lot of gossip about the entertainment industry as soon as she arrived. Zhang Lingzi felt that she should have saved up all the gossip during the vacation and waited to tell her when he came back. But it has to be said that after several people gathered together to drink tea and share their gossip, the feeling of being somewhat unfamiliar because they had not seen each other for more than half a month during the new year disappeared. Recently, a lot of black material about Dongwei has appeared on the internet, and it was probably Zhou Lingyu who released it. The crew of Queen Xiao is about to officially announce Dongwei as the heroine Xiao Chan. Are you still thinking of dragging Dongwei down to play the role yourself? Maybe I'm thinking of giving it a last try, maybe I'll succeed. Let me go, I'm going to vomit after watching Zhou Lingyu play so many queen roles. I would also prefer Dongwei to play the role. Her acting skills are much better than Zhou Lingyu's. I just don't know if her acting skills have deteriorated after being out of the industry for so long. Zhang Lingzi put down her teacup and nodded towards Fang Yao. I can answer this for you. There should be no setbacks. Fang Yao was stunned for a moment, then thought, have Sister Zixi and teacher Dongwei had dinner together? Well, I also asked her for advice on how to improve her acting skills. Then I'm relieved, now I'm looking forward to her playing the ruthless Empress Dowager Xiao. Zhang Lingzi hummed slightly, she was also looking forward to it. It's just that filming hasn't started yet, and with post-production, I'm afraid we won't be able to see it until the end of the year or next year. By the way, Sister Zixi, The Legend of the Fallen City has also announced the upcoming broadcast, but it has not been able to be broadcast on the stars and can only be broadcast on video websites. After Su Qingmei is replaced, who will be the heroine? My name is Usi. She seemed to be the apprentice to play the heroine at first, but she was squeezed out by Zhang Ziyu before she could even shoot. Later, Su Qingmei and Zhang Ziyu fell out one after another, so she took advantage of this opportunity. Usi, I seem to have some impression you can watch this show then. Hey, I've already made a reservation, and I'll be reminded when the show starts. I heard from Sister Tong that Sister Zixi will go to closed training in 2 days. There are 2 other actresses who are also vying for this role. Should I go and find out first? No need, Zhang Lingzi waved her hand towards Lu Zhengzheng, who was eager to try. We'll find out who it is when we go to training. Lu Zhengzheng. I feel that I have no use for myself. It's just that Zhang Lingzi didn't inquire about the other 2, but the other 2 had inquired about her early. Even if Zhang Lingzi is just a backup option now, even if Zhang Lingzi is just a newcomer compared to them, if Director Feng can take a fancy to her, then she is not someone they can take lightly. Zhang Lingzi knew nothing about this, but even if he knew, he didn't care. The time soon came to the day before going to the largest racing training venue in the imperial capital for training. Zhang Lingzi looked at the luggage that Shen Yunqing packed for her. When did you prepare your racing suit? This person must be too secretive in his work. She didn't notice at all during these daily interactions. We will be preparing for it after the year, but the time is a bit rushed. There is no time to customize it from scratch. We can only make modifications based on the finished product. It's a surprise. Do you like it? John Lingzi touched the helmet on top and said, Director Feng, he said he would equip it during training, but I prefer this one you prepared. It's even cooler than the racing videos she watched. My Prime Minister really knows her preferences thoroughly. Although there are racing protective suits and helmets, it is not really racing, but you still have to pay attention to safety. John Lingzi sealed his mouth as he worriedly warned him over and over again. After a long time, the two of them separated with some shortness of breath. John Lingzi returned to seriousness. I'm going to go to the closed training. Grandpa and Yuz Hung are there. You need to take more care of them and pay attention to them. Shen Yunqing pursed her lips, calmed down and said, I was just about to tell you that Zhu sent me a sampling list of daily chemical products this morning, and Yuz Hung has 3 products on the black list. Black list means unqualified. What are the consequences? Companies with a high rate of unqualified products during random inspections will be ordered to suspend operations for rectification. In addition, there were tax problems exposed in Yuz Hung before now. I am afraid that we are in a hurry and there should be no time to harass this place. Looking at it this way, Wei Kei is quite capable. Yuz Hung was brought down faster than she expected. Yu Sheng already had many problems, and this time he was caught with our help. The two looked at each other, and Zhang Lingzi raised her hand with a smile. Shen Yunqing couldn't help but curled her lips, then raised her hands and put their palms together. Let me tell my grandpa the news, and let him do the rest, and I can still get out of my mouth at the same time. Good. Early the next morning, Zhang Lingzi drove her luggage to the address given to her by Director Feng without letting Shen Yunqing deliver it. I parked my car at the gate of the venue and sent a message. After waiting for a while, she saw someone coming out of the venue on a balancing car and parked next to the car window. She opened. Teacher Zhang, is it just you? Yes. Please come in. Zhang Lingzi was about to start the car when she saw in the rearview mirror a racing car with a white background and colorful graffiti speeding over from behind. It was so fast that when it braked, it even left a long black tire mark at the door. Just parked next to her car. An arm wrapped in a black leather jacket protruded from the open driver's seat window of the racing car. When Zhang Lingzi turned her head to look over, she saw the other person took off the sunglasses on his face and raised his lips in her direction, smiling, but the smile was not bright. Da eyes said, Good morning. Zhang Lingzi replied, Good morning. The two greeted each other, then looked away at the same time. As the car window closed, their smiles disappeared. When the crossbar for vehicle traffic in front was raised, Zhang Lingzi was about to release the accelerator when the car next to her roared and rushed in from behind. When they arrived at the designated parking spot, Zhang Lingzi parked the car, turned off the engine and got out to move the suitcase. Only then did she wait until the owner of the white racing car next door apologized. Sorry, I was driving smoothly just now. I subconsciously stepped on the accelerator and got in first. Zhang teacher, you don't mind? I don't mind. Zhang Lingzi took off the suitcase and pulled the crossbar over. What do you call me? The receptionist who caught up with him on a balance car said, Ft, cough. Isn't it just a provocation, but I don't even know who you are. This simply provokes loneliness. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 747. Chen Qiun. Zhang Lingzi pretended not to notice that the face in front of her suddenly darkened several degrees, and did not hear the gnashing of teeth in the other person's voice. She nodded calmly, Teacher Chen, please give me your advice in the next few days. Chen Qiun took a deep breath, nodded and smiled, that's easy to say. But when she turned her back to Zhang Lingzi to pick up the luggage in the car, Her expression could no longer be maintained, and it turned from bright and sunny to cloudy in an instant. What should I call her, but I'm pretending not to know her. She didn't believe that Zhang Lingzi didn't know anything about her beforehand. The usher on the side quietly felt the atmosphere that had begun to become tit for tat. Adhering to the principle of saying less and making fewer mistakes, he saw that both of them had packed their luggage before speaking again. I will send the two teachers to pick them up where to live during this time. Very close, right next to the building in the parking lot. The accommodation arranged is a suite for one person. The usher led the way. The configuration and furnishings inside are the same. The three teachers' rooms are next to each other. The cafeteria is on the first floor. If you don't want to go to the cafeteria to eat, you can press the call bell in the room and have the waiter bring it to you. There is still one teacher who is not here, so the two teachers can choose which room to stay in next. There is no difference between the three rooms except for the house numbers. The door is still open. Looking inside, the layout looks like it was copied and pasted. It depends on whether they want to live next to each other or separate a room in the middle. The one who hasn't come yet. Zhang Lingzi didn't think it was necessary to choose a room like this, so she took her luggage and walked directly to the door of the room closest to her. I'll live in this one. Chen Qiun glanced at the middle room and took a few steps forward. I like quiet, so I'll live in the innermost room. Okay, then this room will belong to the two teachers for the next period of time. The two teachers can go in first to pack their luggage and have a rest. When everyone arrives, I will come over and lead everyone to gather at Director Feng's place. Zhang Lingzi waved her hand. See you later. After saying that, he quickly entered the house and closed the door behind his back. Chen Qiun pursed his lips and glanced at the closed door for a few times before turning around and entering the room he chose. As soon as I unpacked the suitcase, my cell phone buzzed and vibrated on the table beside me. Zhang Lingzi put the helmet in her hand on the table and picked up her mobile phone to connect to the video. Are you there yet? We've all arrived at the arranged rooms, Zhang Lingzi said, flipping the camera to the rear, standing in the center of the room and spinning around. Look, this is the room where you will stay in the next period of time. Too small. It's not bad. Although the sparrow is small, it has all the internal organs. And I'm here for training. I'll be outside during the day. This room is just for sleeping. The bed is comfortable. I also put a small instrument in the side pocket of your suitcase. After you turn it on, you can check whether there is any monitoring or other monitoring. As he said, Zhang Lingzi took out a silver-white instrument that was no bigger than a palm, pressed the power button on it, and saw the Kingian logo on the back, developed by Xiaozhou Company. Well, it's not on the market yet. I asked him for a test product, and you can help him test it. The instrument shows no abnormality and there is no monitoring. Then it's best to take it with you when you go out, just in case. After chatting a few more words across the screen, Zhang Lingzi heard footsteps and faint voices coming from the corridor outside. Everyone on our side should be here, and we should go to Director Feng's place to gather next. Well, pay attention to safety during training. Zhang Lingzi nodded. I'm done. After speaking, quickly hang up the video. Her ears were about to get calluses hearing these 4 words in the past 2 days. The one who arrived last had no choice, only the one in the middle. Solinar pushed open the suitcase in the door handle and put it in. The long eyelashes on her delicate and cute face like a doll blinked. Have the other 2 teachers arrived already? Am I late? The receptionist couldn't see the look of self-reproach on her face and waved her hand quickly. No, there are still several people who haven't arrived at the suite prepared for the actor. Teacher Su arrived early. That's good, Solinar patted her heart and smiled relaxedly. It doesn't matter if I'm late. Teacher Su, please take a rest first. I will come and call you when we gather later. Watching the usher leave, Solinar did not close the door immediately, but opened the suitcase and took out 2 exquisitely wrapped gift boxes. The usher just now told her who lived on the left and right sides of her. Of course, she knew who her two opponents were before she arrived. Chen Qiun has a professional racing driver's certificate. Although she has not competed in several large-scale events seriously and her results are average, when it comes to racing skills, she is far behind as an amateur racing driver. This opponent poses a threat to her. Maximum. Fortunately, they were filming a movie this time, not a serious competition. Racing skills alone were not enough, their acting skills also needed to be passed. In this aspect, she thought she was better than Chen Qiun. As for Zhang Lingzi, her first reaction when she first learned about this candidate was disbelief. Even director Feng is now starting to consider the actor's popularity when selecting people, rather than whether the actor fits the role. Is it just because of the car advertising video of just a few minutes? How can it be compared with a 2-hour movie? She does not deny that Zhang Lingzi's performance as Empress Yuan Zhao is very good, but is the gap between an ancient historical drama and a modern racing movie too big? In short, in her heart, Zhang Lingzi posed a much smaller threat to her than Chen Qiun. With much hesitation, Sulinor picked up the gift box on the left, went to the door of Chen Qiun's room first, and knocked on the door. As soon as Chen Qiun opened the door, he was greeted by a bright smiling face. Hands out her hand to stop hitting the smiling man, and her somewhat impatient expression softens. Sulinor handed over the prepared gift. Teacher Chen, I am Sulinor. You can just call me Linor. In addition to being an actor, I am also an amateur racing driver. I am really happy to be able to train with Teacher Chen this time. I'm so happy. This is a little gift I prepared. Can I ask Teacher Chen if there is anything I don't understand during the subsequent training? Chen Qiun looked at the exquisitely wrapped gifts in front of him, and saw the admiration in Sulinor's eyes. He felt very happy in his heart. This is the attitude that ordinary people should have when facing her, a rare female professional racing driver. Well. Immediately reached out to take the gift. You are too polite. Director Feng also prepared a coach for us. Coaches have to coach us all. Ask me if you don't understand anything anyway. Even with such a short time, he couldn't surpass her. Thank you, Teacher Chen. Teacher Chen, please rest first. I won't disturb you anymore. Back in the room, Sulinor took the remaining gift and knocked on the door of Zhang Lingzi's room as usual. Zhang Lingzi had just packed her suitcase and was about to change her clothes and lie on the bed for a while, when she heard a knock on the door and had to turn around and open the door. Just opened the door. Hello, Teacher Zhang, I am Sulinor. Zhang Lingzi took the gift to Sulinor away and closed the door again. She planned to put it directly on the table, but inadvertently smelled the faint fragrance on the box and raised her eyebrows. Opening the exquisite gift box outside, it turned out to be a small and exquisite aromatherapy set. It's just this fragrance. She is quite cute and very good at getting things done. I guess I gave it not only to her but also to Chen Qiun. She was very thoughtful. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 748. After repacking the dismantled aromatherapy, Zhang Lingzi stuffed it deep into the cabinet without any intention of using it during training. On the other hand, Chen Qiun saw that the incense was small and exquisite, and it was custom made by a well-known brand. It also smelled very good, so he took it apart and put it on the bedside table. While lying on the bed and resting while smelling the fragrance quietly emanating from the side, I was still thinking about what gift to give Sulinor. Her first impression of Sulinor was much better than Zhang Lingzi's. He is humble and polite, and does not feel threatened. After resting for a while, there were knocks on the three people's rooms one after another. Zhang Lingzi had not slept at all. Hearing the sound, she got up and picked up the sports suit she had prepared nearby. She put it on, briefly tied her hair with a hair tie, and finally washed her face with cold water, wiped it briefly, and then opened the door and went out. The receptionist who was responsible for calling people was already prepared to wait outside for at least 10 minutes. After all, she was an actress, and according to the director's regulations, she didn't even bring an assistant. She had to rely on daily makeup and other things. "I can get out of the house in 10 minutes. When she heard the door open, she subconsciously froze for a moment. She first looked down at the sports watch on her wrist. Less than 3 minutes had passed since she just knocked on the door. Then she looked at the first person who opened the door and came out. Past. Teacher Zhang. Seliner, who lives in the middle room, opened the door and came out next. Her hair was a little messy and her clothes were not as neat as when she came to deliver gifts. Looking at the boxes piled in a mess at the door, she might not have finished sorting them out. Seeing Zhang Lingzi, who was standing outside looking fresh, Seliner quickly smoothed her hair and straightened her clothes, then closed the door to isolate the mess inside. "Teacher Zhang is so fast." "Well, you're not slow either." Seliner. She walked up to Zhang Lingzi and sniffed it without leaving any trace. "Do you still like the gift, Teacher Zhang?" Zhang Lingzi just pretended not to notice her little move. "You are interested, but I still prefer traditional incense." This is not a lie. She has various incense blended by Shen Yunqing and Shen Yunqing's direct disciple Xiaji. They are all pure natural. She is not interested in this kind of incense that contains some chemical substances and has not used it. As for the smell that got on her hands when she opened the gifts at the beginning, after she stuffed the aromatherapy scent into the depths of the cabinet, she went to the bathroom and washed her hands carefully to make sure there was no residue. Haha, it seems that Teacher Zhang is still an elegant person. Seliner laughed dryly and looked away. I don't know if it was an illusion, but she always felt that the phrase "I am determined" had some other meanings. I originally wanted to talk to get closer, but now I don't know what to say. Zhang Lingzi was happy to be at peace. Comparing to the Seliner, who was affectionate on the surface but resorted to petty tactics as soon as they came, she felt that Chen Qiun, who simply said "I want to defeat you" on his face, was much more pleasing to the eye. The receptionist waited for a few more minutes, watching attentively. Seeing that it was almost the gathering time mentioned by Director Feng, there was still no movement in Chen Qiun's room, so he had to go over and knock on the door again with more force, knocking more and more. Someone shouted from the door, "Teacher Chen, are you asleep? Director Feng has informed us that we are gathering." After shouting twice in a row, there was movement inside, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She just asked the 3 teachers to take a rest after packing their luggage, but that was a polite comment, but she didn't expect that some of them actually fell asleep. It's not even noon yet. Inside the room, Chen Qiun patted his head, which was still a little dizzy and swollen in annoyance. She had just thought about lying on the bed and playing with her mobile phone while waiting for someone to tell her to gather, but she didn't expect that she actually fell asleep while lying down. By the time she hurriedly put on her clothes and shoes, fixed her hair, and opened the door to go out, she saw Zhang Lingzi and Seliner already outside, and her face turned red. "I'm sorry, I had to work late last night and I didn't expect it to fall asleep on the pillow." Seliner walked up to her and smelled the scent of the incense she sent without having to smell it carefully. The smile on her face suddenly became brighter. "It's okay, Teacher Chen, we haven't waited long." Zhang Lingzi put her phone in her pocket. "Now that everyone is here, let's go." The usher nodded and quickly led the way. "3 teachers, follow me." Hurrying quickly, the 3 of them finally entered a spacious activity room before there was not much time left for the meeting. There are already many people in the activity room. Feng Su was standing with his hands behind his back, watching Zhang Lingzi and others come in, and nodded towards them. Then he coughed lightly and said crisply, "Now that everyone is here, let me introduce you first. This is the racing coach I invited you this time, Coach Qi Zhenkai. In the following period, Coach Qi will help you get to know the car and drive it." Someone from the boys' team aside shouted, "Hello, Coach Qi." Following this, other people also shouted. Qi Zhen stood next to Feng Su, scanning the more than 10 celebrities standing in front of him. When he met Chen Kexen's eyes full of surprise, he nodded slightly. Hello everyone, to be honest, this is my first time training celebrities, and racing is a relatively dangerous sport, so I will say the ugly things first. During the training, I don't care how many fans you have and how famous you are in the outside world. Since you are under my control, I will be responsible for your safety. From now on, you will only have one identity, and that is my students. If you make a mistake, I will scold you. If you fail to meet the training requirements, just practice until I am satisfied. His increasingly stern voice was the only thing left in the activity room for a while. As he spoke, he picked up a stack of paper from the side and said, "This is the preliminary training plan I have drawn up. Each of you can take a look at it first. If you think you can't do it, then just quit now so we don't waste each other's time." Zhang Lingzi had just received a training plan, and before she had time to read the content on it, she heard several gasps from the side. Sulinur, who was standing next to her, opened her eyes wide and covered her mouth. The tables are densely packed. If you look closely, you will see that the plans are fully arranged. Not only learning about racing car driving, but also targeted physical training. There are even several theoretical courses, including vehicle troubleshooting and maintenance, racing car construction theory. Even listed above, there will be a short test every few days to see if the knowledge you have previously mastered is solid. There are so many training items, so the time schedule is naturally full. Only the most basic sleeping time and eating time are guaranteed. Soon someone couldn't help but muttered in a low voice, "It feels like I was dreaming about my senior year in high school." Others, "Who says it's not? How about it? Is there anyone who feels that you can't accept the intensity and is ready to leave?" Although looking at the training schedule in my hand makes me feel like my eyes are darkening, when it comes to leaving, I really can't. It is a rare opportunity to star in a film directed by Feng. Who is willing to give it up? The worst is to fight for it. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 749. Since no one is leaving, I will assume that you have all accepted this training plan. After speaking, Feng Su nodded towards Qi Zhen. In addition, I have two other arrangements. First, I will arrange for staff to record the subsequent training process to facilitate later review. There is a high probability that I will edit part of it later to use it as extras and movie Easter eggs. Second, all communication equipment will be handed over during training and will only be returned to you when you have meals and go back to rest at night. Don't worry, if there are any important calls or messages, I will notify you in time. Everyone couldn't help but look at each other. In this way, it feels more demanding than the third year of high school. Isn't it okay to mute the sound or turn off the phone and take it with you during training? No, time is tight and the tasks are heavy. I want you to be able to concentrate on your training and not be disturbed by mobile phones and other foreign objects during training. Alright. Then everyone got to know each other. The selection of people by Feng Su is somewhat similar to that of Wei Xiao, quite eclectic. The candidates selected this time include those who are very popular in the first and second tiers, some who are tepid, and there are even two newcomers who are just starting out. Of course, those who can stand here have one thing in common, that is, no matter what kind of car they drive, their technology is very good. Although in the end, more than half of the dozen or so of them will be together, at least during the training period, everyone will get along day and night. After briefly getting to know each other, Zhang Lingzi confirmed that Chen Qiun was the professional racing driver Tong Yu mentioned before. In terms of racing level alone, he was the highest among the three of them. Of course, she had guessed this when she saw this man driving a professional racing car in the morning. Sulinor is an amateur and a junior member of a well-known domestic racing club, with some basic knowledge in racing. As for her, although she can drive, she is a layman when it comes to racing. She didn't know until she met Feng Su that the director who had filmed her Red Dragon car commercial had recommended her. As for the male actors on the other side, Zhang Lingzi has no competition with them, but she has memorized each of them. Anyway, it is not troublesome just to think about it. After getting to know each other, everyone left the activity room under the leadership of Feng Su and Qi Zhen. They first got familiar with the building where they were staying, such as the fitness room for physical training, the classroom for theoretical classes, etc., and finally headed to the cafeteria. By the way, your diet during training is also accurately and scientifically proportioned. It is best to eat it all, otherwise the lack of caloric intake will affect subsequent training, which will delay things. Others will not wait. Eat to regain your strength. When he said this, Feng Su looked at Zhang Lingzi, Chen Qiun, and Sulinor, especially you three, don't think about dieting during training. Director, someone behind Zhang Lingzi raised his hand, I have a big appetite. If I don't eat enough, can I have some extra? Feng Su looked at the boy who raised his hand, just don't overstuff yourself and affect your training. Yeah. Arriving at the canteen, Qi Zhen led everyone directly to a special window. From now on, you will pick up meals at this window. The other windows are for ordinary staff, and you won't be able to eat in the past. So only Feng Suyuze ran to other windows. Zhang Lingzi took the lunch handed out from the window. A bowl of flat 5-color rice, a steamed small yellow croaker, about 10 slices of soy beef, 2 watery vegetarian dishes, a boiled egg and a banana, and the soup is a mushroom and egg drop soup with no oil. Looking at the dinner plate in the hand of the male student next door, the dishes are all the same. The number of beef slices is almost doubled, and there are 2 eggs and 2 bananas each. She was walking towards the dining area carrying the dinner plate, and heard Sulinor wailing softly from behind, it's such a big portion, I can't finish it. Chen Qiun pursed her lips and said nothing. She felt that if she worked hard, she should still be able to finish the meal. Sulinor walked to the opposite side of Zhang Lingzi with a grimace, Teacher Zhang, can I sit here? Please do it. Sulinor immediately pulled Chen Qiun, who was about to go to the next table, to sit down. Chen Qiun. For the sake of Sulinor giving him a gift. Teacher Zhang. Sulinor saw Zhang Lingzi pick up the chopsticks, and was about to ask her if she could finish the food on the plate, when she saw the other party first picked up a piece of fish with chopsticks and ate it, then picked up rice and put it into her mouth without moving. Slow, but he looks very calm and elegant. If he wants to ask a question, he somehow can't. After she finally put half a bowl of rice into her stomach, she couldn't help but turn her head and burp. She turned her head and looked at the opposite side, and her eyes widened. Zhang Lingzi didn't pay attention to her expression. She stood up with the eaten plate and walked towards the window where she was cooking. Master, please make another bowl of rice, half a fish, and more vegetarian dishes. Master, I want another bowl of rice and some more vegetables. Can you give me a little more beef? 2 voices sounded almost at the same time. Zhang Lingzi turned her head and looked over. Oh, the boy who said on the way here that he has a big appetite just now is one of the 2 pure newbies. According to the script that she has almost remembered, this boy named Xiao Yu is likely to be one of the candidates for the male lead based on his appearance. Hello, Teacher Zhang. Teacher Zhang doesn't have enough to eat? The 2 of them returned to their seats carrying the once again full dinner plates. From the time Zhang Lingzi got up to prepare the meal until she came back, Sulinor didn't eat a bite of rice or a bite of vegetables. After she sat down again, she couldn't wait to speak, Teacher Zhang, you haven't eaten enough yet. Zhang Lingzi took a sip of the sweet mushroom soup and said, well, I have a good appetite and a big appetite. Sulinor. She looked at Zhang Lingzi, who was still wearing some loose sportswear that did not hide her slender figure, and couldn't help but clenched her left hand at her side. So angry. Chen Qiun silently speeded up his eating. When Zhang Lingzi finished the second portion of the meal, she also finished the last bite of rice and put down her chopsticks. Solinar was counting the grains of rice from behind. She wanted to eat them all, but her stomach, which had been controlling her diet for a long time and even going on a diet at every turn, simply wouldn't allow it. In the end, I could only give up on myself. I can't do it anymore, I really can't eat anymore. Chen Qiun glanced at the food left on her plate that had more than half of it. Don't hold back if you can't finish it. Take it step by step. Solinar nodded and forced a smile. Teacher Chen is so awesome, he ate them all. When I was training abroad, I ate more than I do now. Training is really exhausting. Then when I'm preparing for training in the afternoon, I'll bring a few energy bars with me to make sure I don't hold anyone back. Chen Qiun smiled when he saw her cute way of raising her fists in assurance. Amateurs are amateurs, and their appetite is not even close to that of a professional racing driver. In her opinion, there is no threat at all. It was Zhang Lingzi's appetite that really shocked her. If it weren't for her natural ability to digest and be a big eater, then Zhang Lingzi's physical strength would definitely be better than that of a professional racing driver like her. Fortunately, at the racing level, she can completely crush Zhang Lingzi, who has never driven a racing car. And with just 1 month of training at most, there was no way Zhang Lingzi could reach her level. Chen Qiun confidently picked up the dinner plate and stood up. She remembered that it was written in the training plan that there would be a section this afternoon for everyone to get familiar with racing car driving. Then it would be her home court. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 750. After lunch, I went back to my room and took a half-hour lunch break. The first class started on time according to the prepared training plan. Simulated driving. Even though it's a simulated driving, all the parameters are exactly the same as those of a real racing car. I've experienced it once before. It's very exciting and I don't have to worry about danger. Chen Kexan was a little disappointed, but then she thought about it. Even in simulated driving, she could still stay ahead of the others present, and she immediately held her head high. Qi Zhen swiped his card to unlock the simulated driving program, and suddenly the low sound of the engine sounded in the spacious hall. One simulated driver for each person. Choose the corresponding course to practice based on your current foundation, and the terminal will display your practice data and results. Put it all together on the tablet in my hand. After a pause, he emphasized his tone a little more. Be careful, if you don't have the basics of driving a racing car, don't try to challenge the difficulty directly. Trust me, you will vomit in the simulated cockpit. Even if you have the basics, you should act within your ability. Now, get on board. Zhang Lingzi walked to the machine closest to her and sat down. A voice and text reminder appeared on the screen in front of her. Driver, please wear a helmet and fasten your seat belt. After she completed these two requirements in accordance with the reminder, the text reminder disappeared, and another interface popped up. Please choose the driving mode that suits you. At a glance, there are no less than a dozen driving modes, and they are divided into several categories. At a glance, it just feels dizzying. Although he was a little curious about what those simulated competitions, mountain road driving, and driving on rainy days were like, Zhang Lingzi still chose the beginner listed first. Chen Qiun was in the cockpit next door. Just as he was about to put on his helmet, he heard beginner mode is on. Please follow the instructions to complete the operation. He almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. Beginner mode, she won't play in such a childish mode when she is not yet an adult. After putting on the helmet, she directly chose the intermediate simulation field. Qi Zhen was sitting next to the master controller. The tablet in his hand that was connected to all simulated cockpits was updating everyone's selection mode in real time. You could see each other's specific operations by clicking on it. After looking around, he clicked on Chen Qiun's number. Out of a total of 14 people, only 5 chose the beginner mode without any foundation. The others carefully chose the junior mode. Only one Chen Qiun chose the intermediate mode. When he exited Chen Qiun's simulated driving scene, he subconsciously glanced at the score the system printed in the upper right corner of the page, 68. It is only slightly higher than passing grade. Although it may be due to the fact that he is not familiar with the operating system when he first uses the computer, this score is really low for a professional racing driver, and it does not meet his expectations for Chen Qiun. Going back to the main page where everyone's results can be seen, Qi Zhen glanced over and raised an eyebrow. At present, the operation results of the 5 people who have chosen the beginner mode have been released. All scores are above 80%, and there is an even more eye-catching perfect score of 100%. Although he was a beginner, it still gave him some comfort. The name in front of the perfect score is Zhang Lingzi. There is a hidden setting in the simulated driving system. Only those with perfect scores can automatically advance to the next mode. Others require manual operation. Seeing that Zhang Lingzi had entered the primary mode, he hesitated and simply chose split screen. The left side is the playback of the beginner's operation, and the right side is the real-time operation of the beginner mode. My 2 eyes immediately became busy. If you say that beginners only allow you to familiarize yourself with basic operations such as starting the car, starting straight, turning and reversing, then in the beginner mode, there are 2 more opponents, the road is no longer smooth, and the map becomes larger and the scene becomes more realistic. The difficulty can be said to have been greatly increased. Zhang Lingzi, who was in the beginner mode before, was able to perfectly meet the system requirements with excellent psychological quality. But at this point, no matter how good and stable his psychological quality was, he still had several collisions with the 2 simulated opponents during the competition, and finally reached the finish line in second place, half a car body behind. The system immediately gave her a score of 80. Without hesitation, she chose to start over. Qi Zhen looked at her results in the junior mode. 83, 86, 89, 92. The simulation system also has the ability to determine whether to terminate simulated driving based on the driver's operations. The first person to be kicked out of the simulated driving mode was Sulinur. She loosened her grip on the steering wheel and took off her helmet. Her face was several shades paler than before. Going to the rest area nearby, she ate 2 energy bars and drank a glass of glucose water that Coach Chi handed her, and then she recovered. Your physical strength is too poor even if the other party is a star, Qi Zhen still said it correctly. The physical requirements of racing drivers are no lower than those of athletes. Your physical strength is a big shortcoming. Next, I will pay special attention to your physical fitness improvement, maybe additional training, is that acceptable? Sulinur squeezed the unfinished glucose water hard, lowered her eyes and responded in a low voice. Qi Zhen immediately made a note on the tablet. Nearly half an hour later, people were forced to get off the plane one after another. Chen Qiun was kicked out and took off his helmet. He subconsciously looked to the next door. When he saw that Zhang Lingzi was still insisting, he couldn't help but clenched his fists. Can she say that she is envious of this physical ability? Even among the boys, only 2 were still holding on. When she came out of the cockpit, another one was kicked out. Qi Zhen looked at the only 2 avatars that were lit on the tablet interface in his hand. Zhang Lingzi, Xiao Yu. Everyone was sitting in the rest area in 2s and 3s, looking at the 2 people who were still in the simulated cockpit. More eyes turned to Zhang Lingzi. They are grown men, but they can't hold on longer than any of the girls. Although there were some people who were a little jealous of Xiao Yu, they couldn't help but cheer him up secretly. But you must persist longer than Zhang Lingzi. Otherwise, it would be very shameful for a group of grown men to be defeated by a girl. Chen Qiun looked at Zhang Lingzi's back with complicated eyes. Could this be the benefit of a large appetite? Should she eat as much as possible like Zhang Lingzi that night? Sulinur saw her staring at Zhang Lingzi, so she leaned over and sighed softly, I didn't expect teacher Zhang to be able to persist for so long. She is better than the boys. Ye Chen Qiun nodded dully, her physical fitness is really good. Sulinur. That's it? What she wants is resentment and hostility, not approval. Another portrait on the tablet went dark. Qi Zhen only glanced at it and then looked at the score sheet next to Zhang Lingzi. Elementary mode, 100. Following this, the pilot chose to disembark voluntarily. He thought as expected. This girl won't give up until she gets full marks. End of chapter.